Hi everyone. Thank you for being here tonight to my channel. So before I get started, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers that have subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. So let's just jump into it. So tonight, I thought I would read about some abduction stories. So I've had this book in the trunk of my car forever, the UFO book. It's a encyclopedia of the extraterrestrial. It's a collection of different stuff in the books. It talks about Project Blue Book. It talks about the Travis Walks and the abduction. It talks about sightings and other things. And there's some abduction stories in here that I've never heard of before. And so that's what I wanted to read to you guys tonight. A few of those. It's not going to be long. It's a short chapter. Oh yeah, and so the chapter in the book says it's called "Sex and UFOs," which was really interesting. That really jumped at and caught my attention. So I figured I'll get started. So the first stories that I'm going to read to you, I don't know what to make of them. In my opinion, I don't think they're credible, but I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge. You guys give me your thoughts on it. So I'm going to start. During World War II, as a GI stationed in Hawaii, Mendra met a beautiful dark-haired space woman, as he would tell the tale. Although I shall always remember the girl on the rock with a special kind of memory, this girl, too, exhibited the same expression of spiritual love and deep understanding. Standing in her presence, I was filled with awe and humility, but not without a strong physical attraction one finds impossible to allay when in the presence of these women. She immediately sensed that part of my feelings. She immediately sensed that part of my feelings and also my embarrassment at knowing that she had sensed them. Oh, Howard, she almost cried. It's only a natural thing. I feel in myself. It flows from you to me as from me to you. Back home in New Jersey in 1946, manager met the girl on the rock again. Only this time she stepped out of a flying saucer dressed in a blue-gray ski type uniform which fitted loosely over what was a shapely body. After informing him of his coming mission to aid the space people in their benevolent efforts to save the human race from itself, she gave him a chaste kiss on the cheek. When Mendra asked if they would meet again, he said no, but one day he will meet her sister, a Venetian, now in an earth incarnation. She will work with you and be with you for the duration of this lifespan. The space woman said you will recognize her the moment your eyes fall upon her. 10 years later, contacted followers flocked to Mendra's farm near High Bridge where objects Mendra identified as spacecraft and shadowy figures called the Space People sparked a sensational local press coverage. A small group of devoted spiritual seekers gathered regularly at the farm. Did I say what year this was? This was in the 19. Uh, this was in 1956, so this supposedly happened. I want to make sure I got the date in there. So yeah, a small group of devoted spiritual seekers gathered regularly at the forum. One day, as California Conte George Van Tassel was lecturing their Minger noticed a slim, attractive young blonde woman. I noticed at once who she was. Seeing her, he broke through the memory block that separated him from his previous lives, and he recognized her as the sister of whom his original contact had spoken. He also saw that they had been lovers long ago when she was a Satirian spiritual teacher named Sol de Noro, and she a Venusian beauty. Connie Weber, recently widowed and Mendra married with children, soon were in love in an amorous, I don't know how you say that, relationship whose history Weber would chronicle in My Centurion Lover in 1958, an odd book even by the eccentric standards of contactee literature. According to her, theirs were no ordinary intimate relations. Early in the course of their love life, She had this experience. Um, Alan, as Menger is called throughout the book, bent down to kiss my brow. I felt the undulating tremors of his body, and then he began a strange and fascinating transformation right before my eyes. Alan began to grind his teeth and turn and twist and stretch. He appeared to be getting taller and stronger. He breathed in deeply, and I felt his chest expand greatly. It seemed as if he had grown a head taller. Not only did he grow taller and stronger, but his facial contour changed. His face seemed to get longer and triangular in shape, and his eyes grew large and deeper. Even his voice was different, deeper and lower. He had ceased to be Alan and had become a Saturnian. The next thing I knew, he, as a Saturnian, had placed his hands under my armpits, slowly raised me at arm's length as if I had been a doll, and without so much as a muscle strain or change in breathing or the slightest exertion of any kind, he held me thus high above his head for a moment, looking up at me with the most wondrous, loving eyes, and slowly drew me down toward him till our lips met. It was this individual, this Saturnian, this strange being who revealed himself to me as he really was, with whom I fell in love with. Let's see. What else? What else? What else? So I think this. I think this is supposed to be him. If you guys can see this, Minger and the second sister, I guess non-human sister, who was a Venetian that he supposedly had fell in love with. So I don't know. This that I don't know what to make of that story. So you guys give me your thoughts. I'm kind of not buying it, but oh, hi Black Dragon. Thank you for being here. So I don't know. It's interesting to say the least, but I don't know if I'm going for that. So that's one of the stories in the book. So let me see what else I want to bring up. So there's another story here. South African contactee Elizabeth Clara claimed not only to have had a long-standing love affair with Akon, a scientist from the utopian planet Meton, but to have borne a son by him during an extended stay on that world. Theirs was not mere earthly sex. I surrendered in ecstasy to the magic of his love-making, our bodies merging in a magnetic union as the divine essence of our spirits became one, she recalled. And I found the true meaning of loving, mating with a man from another planet. So that's another interesting case. Okay. So let's see what else is in here. So it talks about here that conservative ufologists scoffed at the extravagant claims of contactees, but most took seriously reports of uncommunicative humanoids, a sort of sightings that eventually will be called close encounters of the third kind. But one alleged encounter with UFO occupants, though clearly differentiated from a typical contactee tale involving an aspect of human alien interaction that at first defied belief and even comprehension. So at 1 a.m. on October 16, 1947, so this story with a young Brazilian. Oh, so I know this story. I've already talked about this story before on my channel, and I absolutely believe this story happened. I've done my research on this story, and I absolutely believe it's true. So at 1 a.m. on October 16, 1947, so the story with a young Brazilian man, Antonio Villas Boas, who lived on a farm near Sao Francisco de Sales in the state of Minas Gerais, I don't even know if I'm saying that correct, was dragged from a tractor into a UFO. There, its occupants' human-like forms in spacesuits removed his clothing, sponged a thick, odorless liquid over his body. See, the part where it says sponged a thick liquid over his body, some people say there was cases where it said it was sprayed over him, but the book said it was sponged. So either way go, he was doused with something. So over his body, and took a blood sample and left him alone in a room with a kind of bed. Minutes later, a naked woman with whitish blonde hair, attractive but not owing to her long slanted eyes and pointed chin, entirely human in appearance, walked in through, though she never spoke, and she and Villalobos engaged in 2 acts of intercourse, but without kissing. After the second, she collected a semen sample and put it in a container. Before exiting, she pointed to her belly, then to the sky, as if to indicate their baby would be born on another world. He did not see her again. After a short time, he left the ship. A month later, Villalobos communicated his story in a letter to prominent journalist João Martins. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It's spelled Joao. And the following February, he traveled to Rio to be interviewed by Martin, and Olavo T. Fontes, a well-connected physician and ufologist. Villas-Boas made a favorable impression on the two. Fontes would write that we are not dealing with a psychopathic case, a mystic or a visionary subject. In spite of this, the very substance of his story becomes the heaviest argument against it. Let's see. As a Brazilian representative of the Tucson-based Area Phenomenon Research Organization, APRO, Dr. Fontes wrote prolifically on the UFO case he had investigated, but he published nothing on Villalobos' claims in spite of a conviction that the young man was telling the truth. He sent a private report to APRO Director James and Cora Lorenza, who did publish it, but discussed it confidentially with other ufologists. Nonetheless, when a critic learned of its existence, he attacked Lorenz for associating themselves with a man. Fontes so gullible as to have listened to a story about alleged rape. Let me see. Let's skip some of this. So in early 1962, two Brazilian ufologists interviewed Villalobos, who was at first reluctant to talk, and reported the case in April-July issue of SBEDV. Though written in English, the article drew little attention outside Brazil, but in its January-February 1965 issues, England Flying Saucer Review afforded prominent treatment to what it is called the most amazing case of all. Between then and 1972, FSR's Gordon Crichton wrote no fewer than 8 articles on Villalobos' affairs. Soon the Lorenzes, abandoning their reservations, published Fontes' full report in their 1967 book, Flying Saucer Occupants. By the end of the decade, the Villalobos episode will become one of the best known of all CE3's cases. Villalobos went on to become a lawyer, married, the father of 4 children. He stayed out of the limelight, but in a rare public appearance on a Brazilian television show in 1978, he repeated the story without elaboration. So, I don't know, for some reason, I absolutely believe the man. I've done, like I said, I've done my research. I've done my background in him. And I believe his story happened like he said it happened. I mean, this dude lived out in like a rural farm area, not in a major city. He didn't know anything about, or as I know, about UFOs and alien abductions and stuff. So why would he just make up a story out of the blue like that? I mean, I know some people do, but in this case, I just don't buy it. And again, this happened in 1957. He was a farmer in the middle of nowhere. So I believe it. His story never changed until he died. His story never changed. And the dude ended up becoming a lawyer, and his story never changed. So yeah, I believe his story, in my opinion. So you guys let me know what you think. I think it's a really good story. You have to wonder if she ever succeeded in getting pregnant with his child or whatever, and are they living on another planet somewhere? I would have to think there is another planet of alien human hybrids out there somewhere, or maybe they're right here, as Dr. David Jacobs talks about in his book Walking Among Us, or maybe it's both. Maybe they're out there on a planet, or maybe they're here. So let's see what else. Oh, so there's another interesting story in here. Let's see. In later years, however, as the abduction phenomenon came into prominence, the Villalobos case was echoed in a handful of reports. An incident said to have occurred in 1968 made little impression when it was published in 1976 in the Hans Holzers, the UFO Knots, but reports very much like it would proliferate in later years and generate interest and debate among UFO researchers. During a spate of UFO sightings in Westmoreland and New York area, a teenage girl named Shane Kurtz saw a cigar-shaped object late on the evening of May 2nd. Half an hour later, she fell into a deep sleep. When her mother checked on her at 4 a.m., Shane was not in her bed, but she assumed that her daughter had gone to the bathroom. Later, when her mother woke up, Shane was present, but the front door was open and muddy prints led from the front door up to the bedroom. Shane was lying on top of her bed sheet, clad in a button-up robe and wearing muddy slippers. A couple of days later, Shane told Holzer in 1975, "I noticed 2 reddish ring-shaped marks on either side of my lower abdomen. a line running from my navel down. Other physiological symptoms, including burning eyes, the eruption of her menstrual period led to her to seek medical attention and explanation. After a time, the problem ceased. In 1974, Shane wrote Holzer, a popular writer on psychic phenomenon, after reading an ad he had placed in a UFO magazine soliciting reader experiences. They met in February 1975, and Holzer placed her under hypnosis, directing her to go back to that night in May 1968. She recalled hearing a voice and seeing a light in her bedroom, then walking outside to a muddy field nearby. There, a beam of warm light drew her into an oval shaped UFO. Inside what looked like a white hospital room, she encountered a small humanoid being with compelling eyes and no nose. He told her, "You're special," and ordered her to lie on a table and take off her blouse. As she argued with him, she saw a second being behind her. He is the same, but he has a long coat on, but he looks the same. Those eyes, they're telling me, lie down. They're taking my arm and scratching it. It hurts. There is a hum in my ears. It is coming through. I know what he's saying. He keeps telling me to relax. This being whom Shane thought of as the doctor told her that she was a good breed. The doctor led her to another room where a needle was inserted through her navel. A scarf wearing humanoid, whom she took to be the leader, told Shane that she would have his baby. Shane protested angrily, to no avail. The doctor left, and the leader removed his clothes and rubbed a warm, jelly like substance on her chest and abdomen, telling her that it would stimulate her. The being whose body and sex organs like a human male entered her. After she hit him and accused him of rape, he said that she could go and she would not remember. She was floated back to the ground. Though the memory of the event vanished as soon as the episode was over, she began dreaming about it a month afterwards. The account elicited under hypnosis was simply a more elaborate version of the dream material. Shane had other UFO related experiences both before and after the one reported. Let's see. Holzer's investigation did not extend much beyond correspondence, interviews, and hypnosis with Shane, though he did secure a statement from her mother attesting both to the presence of strange lights and to Shane's absence in early morning hours of May the 3rd. Unfortunately, Holzer made no effort to secure Shane's medical records. How could he not secure the medical records? That would have been a big thing. Maybe he would have some evidence, maybe. Because this book was not much because his book was not much read even by ufologists. The story occasioned no comment or controversy. No independent investigation was ever conducted. Wow. So I have to wonder, did she ever end up getting pregnant because the alien told her that she would have his baby? So you have to wonder, did she become pregnant? What happened with the rest of this story? I'm very curious to know. I wonder if any of you guys know about this story. Hi, Jason688. Thanks for being here, listening to me read. But that's a really interesting case. I would love to know if anybody knows more about this case. I really need to know if she did get pregnant, or if she did get pregnant, they come back and take the baby from her. So I don't know. Interesting. Let's see. Not interesting that she was raped though, but still. If the story is indeed true, which is might be true because her mother was a witness, so her mother did come into the room at 3. I think it was around 3 in the morning. Her daughter wasn't in the room, and she just assumed she was in the bedroom. So no, it's an interesting case. I wonder if this chick is still alive too, because this happened in. She was a teenager when it happened in 1968, and she didn't tell her story until I think 1975. So she could be alive. I'm going to see if I can do some research and find her, maybe. Okay, so let me see what the other story I want to read about. Okay, so there's another one. Walking home from a jazz club late one night in October 1967, Eugene Brown of Belfast, Northern Ireland, reportedly observed an approaching object that shot a beam of light in his direction. As the light danced around him, Brown grew dizzy and passed out. When he regained consciousness, he was lying in a windowless oblong room with a blue light emanating from the floor and illuminating the walls. Metal bands connected to a square metallic device above him were attached to his head and wrist. 4 human-looking men and 1 woman, all wearing one-piece suits, stood around the table. The tallest man said, At last, someone you would do." Brown was freed from the restraints and led to the woman, who had blonde hair, blue eyes with high cheekbones and thin lips. Kind of sound like Nordic to me. The Nordic aliens, however people be referring to. The woman expressed a desire to have intercourse with Brown, who at first declined but then agreed. The woman told him that her people wanted Earthman's seed and had collected it, presumably in this fashion, all over the world. Afterwards, the beings returned him to the table, strapped him down and again, and said, "It will not be the last time you see us." Yellow lights came on, and Brown passed out to revive in a field a mile from where he had stood originally. He watched the UFO depart. Another incident is said to have taken place on October 16, 1973, in Langford, Budville, Somerset. It was investigated 4 years later by English ufologists Barry King and Andy Collins. The principal wanted no publicity. She did not even want the story to be circulated, though a brief newspaper account was published in 1979 without mentioning her name. The woman driving on a back road at 11:15 p.m. observed a light in a field to her right. At the same time, her car stopped. The headlights went out. When she went outside to check the engine, she heard a humming sound and felt something hit her on the shoulder. Behind her, she observed a metallic man. Things became vague. Over the next few minutes, she would, however, remember standing in the field and watching a metallic disc with light glowing from its windows. The next thing she knew, she was inside a cold room and strapped naked to a table, where three human-like figures dressed like surgeons were looking at her. The metal man, a robot, stood motionless in a corner. One of the human figures conducted a physical examination of her, at one point placing a suction device over her sex organ. The beings left the room for a short time. Then one returned and placed a pin on her thigh. She went numb and felt paralyzed. As she lay there helpless with her eyes closed, the being raped her. The other beings entered the room, removed the pin, and helped her to her feet. At that moment, she lapsed into consciousness. Later, she found herself clothed and standing by her car. She arrived home at 2:30 a.m. and told the story to her husband. They agreed to keep this story to themselves. 4 years later, however, she came upon Barry's King name and confided the story to him and Collins. So I wonder also, was he raping her or having sex with her to just to see how it was, or was he doing it to get her pregnant? Because it doesn't say any follow up after. Did she get pregnant? If she did get pregnant, what happened to the baby? Did they come back and take the baby? These are questions that I have answers to, that I want to know. I mean, was he? I don't know. I just don't understand myself. I don't know. So let's see. There is another story here. In December 1976, issued the Bogota magazine Via reported the fantastic claim of cowman named Liberato Anibal Quintero, who lived on a farm near El Banco in the province of Magdalena. It did not give a date for the alleged incident. Supposedly around 12:30 one night, a strange compulsion drove the witness outside, where he saw the landing of a big luminous craft shaped like a hen's egg. A ladder appeared on the side of the object. A number of beings stepped out. The magazine quotes him saying they were less than 1.5 meters in height. They were white skinned with flattened faces, very high cheekbones, quick, quiet, thick eyebrows, and round protruding eyes. I don't think they had either eyelids or eyelashes. There were also three women with long hair who came out of the machine after the man. After a struggle, they overcame his resistance by seizing him in the area of the spinal column. He passed out to revive in a state of great discomfort. Three of the women were rubbing his body as to soothe him. They were, he said, completely naked and in an inviting and provocative posture. What are you looking at me for? He had sex with one. Yeah. I noticed that he had no navel. I noticed that she had no navel. He went on. She seemed absolutely insatiable, very, very ardent. She was extremely hairy. What are you doing? Eventually exhausted, he began to feel frightened. He heard the woman emit noises like the barking of a dog, and she was And as she was answered with barks from other beings elsewhere in the craft, the other two women gave him a yellowish liquid to drink, and it restored him. Apparently, the account is not entirely clear here. He then had intercourse with them as well. Afterwards, he felt a pricking sensation in his back, lapsed into unconsciousness, and revived in the grass. The UFO gone. 3 hours had passed. So it says in here the magazine ran pictures of a man identified as Liberato Anibal Quintero and carried an interview with his wife. Let's see. His wife is employed a local physician. Nothing more is known of the story and caution about its authenticity. Authenticity. I can't say that word. Seem well advised. The tale bears a number of points of resemblance to the Villa Boas episode. Yeah, that's true. It does seem kind of seem familiar to that case and some aspects of it. It doesn't really go too much on that case. It just says be careful of that case. So that's it about that one. Let's see. Let's see if there's any other cases in here.
Oh, he's sleeping with me. You just want to stay in here. Come on.
So there's, let's see, there's one more case in here that I'm going to read about. An American case involves sex with an alien woman but no UFO. In the late 1970s in Arizona, an Arizona man gave this pseudonym John Williams wrote a letter to the Newsday magazine UFO Report asking to be referred to a UFO investigator or organization. The editors gave the letter to writer B. Ann Slade, who eventually met Williams personally and had physician W.C. McCall place him under hypnosis. Williams operated a small leather shop. One day in the summer of 1972, he claimed a strange man with yellow eyes without pupils entered the store and gave Williams a brief telepathic message hinting at a further meaning. On December 4th, 1975, two strange-looking persons, a man and a woman. You know I'm live, right?
Your reading sucks. It sounds like all your words are bundled up together.
No, because I'm reading fast. I'm trying to fucking get it out.
Because ain't nobody gonna listen to it. They can't understand you. You need to project your voice.
On December 4th, 1975, two strange-looking persons, a man and a woman who looked much like earlier visitors, visited Williams in the shop. They took him back to a room. The female produced a device about the size of a hand massager and went over my entire body with it. Williams related, after speaking briefly with the man, she removed her clothes, fastened her eyes on Williams, who felt intense sexual desire. He undressed and intercourse followed. Let's see. So that's another story. This much he remembered consciously. Under hypnosis, further details emerged. The woman's skin, except for her face and neck, bronzed from what appeared to be makeup, was white and transparent. Her breasts perfectly round with white nipples. A smell emanating from the woman aroused him fiercely. During intercourse, Williams related the woman make noises. It's animal. Later, he was told he had been part of an experiment in crossbreeding. The man and the woman laughed. The entire experience had occurred over a period of an hour and 40 minutes. Interesting. It doesn't give any more details about that, but no research seems to have followed up on that case. But I think that's the end of the chapter, at least for the cases that were in here, at least for that chapter. It's a short chapter, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. Some of the cases I kind of believe, some of them I'm a little iffy on, especially those first two cases I read about, and the one with the barking alien, sounding like a barking dog, but you never know. It's interesting to see how in some of these cases during the early years, it seems to be actual sex involved with humans and aliens, where it is now it seems more clinical. You hear about people who go into ships and they're laid on the table and you have like needles and instruments actually taking the egg and sperm and stuff from the people. So you have to wonder, was it a different type of alien in the beginning? And just, I don't know, learning, I guess, maybe, or they're just trying to perfected. I have no idea. I've never had an alien abduction experience. I've never even seen anything, so I just don't know what to make some of these cases. Some of them I actually do believe are true. I actually believe some of these people are telling the truth. Of course, you know there are some people out there who just complete BS you on some of these cases, but most of them I do believe. I do a lot of these people believe are actually telling the truth, but to what end that these aliens are taking these eggs and sperms and creating these hybrids? And I mean, are they here among us, or they're, I don't know, another planet? Like I said in the beginning, it could be a little bit of both. I've never read Dr. Jacobs David book, but I've heard him talk about it on Richard Dolan's show. And his thoughts are that these alien hybrids are here to take over the planet. I don't completely agree with that. I think they're here, but I don't know if they're here to take over the planet like he thinks it's all doom and gloom. So I don't know. Although I'm keeping an open mind, you never know. But I don't know if I agree with that. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. So, oh my God, the other thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you guys saw this season of American Horror Story. It was a crossover, and I think it was starting at episode. Oh my God, was it like episode 5 or maybe episode 6? It was the story of President Eisenhower signing that treaty. I think it was the Greater Treaty that it was called. If you do your research with aliens, allowing them to abduct people and crossbreed and create hybrids to take over the planet because they were just sick of humanity and everything like that. So, if you guys haven't watched it, I don't want to give too much away. You should check it out. It's really interesting and makes you think that maybe that actual happened. I mean, maybe that's why the government is partially doesn't come out and tell us the truth. Maybe they do have a deal to let these beings or whatever come and take some people and abduct them, and they get technology in reverse. It might not be just necessarily the treaty they say President Eisenhower signed with aliens, but it could be some type of treaty with someone else in the military or government that signed with these extraterrestrials, allow them to take people and abduct them and do whatever and take their egg and ova and sperm. I don't know. Like I said, I've never experienced anything. I've never seen anything. So who knows? It could be. The other thing I was thinking about today, too, while I was driving, is I wonder if anybody ever been abducted or taken who were blind and deaf. Because you know, a lot of people say they who've been abducted, they've said that the aliens talk to them telepathically, or they send like images into their head. So if somebody's blind, what kind of images would they show them? Because if they're blind, they've never seen anything. So what they would they compare it to? That was really interesting to me. So I don't know. I wonder how that would work. Would they bother to take somebody who's blind or deaf? I mean, if somebody who's deaf, and they're talking to them telepathically, will they be able to hear the images in their head if they've never heard anything? They were born that way. How would that work? I'm just curious. I want to know. I don't know. I have so many questions I want to know about. So myself, I don't know. This is fascinates me. This subject really fascinates me. So if you guys have some thoughts on that, if you guys know anybody who's been blind or deaf that's been abducted, how would that work? Because and how do these beings learn to speak our language so well telepathically? It just, even if they've been coming here for decades, I mean, are we speaking their language, you think? I don't know. I'm just curious. Anyway, those are my weird thoughts for tonight. I'm sorry if my reading sucks. I'm not the best person on camera, so, and I try to read quickly to hurry up and get it done. So some of my words are probably just all intertwined and whatever, and I wasn't pronouncing stuff right. So anyway, I think that's it. That's all I got tonight. You guys give me your thoughts on these abduction stories I read to you. Like I said, the first two, I don't know if I believe those are credible, but the Antonio Villabola's case, I believe that one happened. And the one with the 15-year-old, I think being raped with her mom came into the room and she wasn't there. I definitely believe that one happened, but I had to do some more research on that one. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for everyone who's sitting here to listen to me read. And I'm pretty sure you guys probably saw my daughter walking here in the background, just staring at me like a psychopath. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got tonight. Bye.